Good afternoon, members. A quorum has been formed and I call to order the meeting. Item 1 on the agenda, information paper issued since last meeting. Since the previous meeting, one information paper has been issued by the Secretariat. The information paper is on the designation of libraries, museums, and archives under Section 118(2)(FB) of the Copyright Ordinance eligible for exemption from criminal liability of business and user possession offence provided by the administration. As at the 14th of March 2025, by 5 p.m., that is the deadline, no views have been submitted on the information paper. As a result, we will not follow up on the information paper. According to the administration, an amendment bill for the subsidiary legislation will be submitted to the Legislative by the second half of the year. Item 2, items for discussion as the next meeting. The next meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 15th of April, at 2:30 p.m. One item has been suggested by the government, that is proposed subsidiary legislation for specification of libraries, museums, and archives and prescribed conditions for certain permitted acts under the Copyright Ordinance. Members, do you have any views on the above suggestion? If not, that would be the item on the agenda on the next occasion. Item 3, support measures for SMEs. First of all, we will invite the administration to join us to thank Mr. Algernon Yao and his team for attending this item. The item is scheduled to end at 3:30 p.m. I will keep the time strictly. First of all, I would invite the Secretary, Mr. Algernon Yao. Sorry, I mistook you for a member. I wonder whether you will run for electoral seats in December. Once again, thank you, Mr. Algernon Yao and your team for attending this meeting. So before you speak, may I invite members who would like to ask questions to press the button. Mr. Yao, please walk us through the paper. I wonder how long will it take? Just very briefly. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members. Good afternoon. Concerning the measures announced in the budgets for supporting SMEs, last year we have seen a significant increase in growth in the economy, a 2.5% increase. However, there are a lot of trade conflicts because of geopolitical tension. Interest rates remain high globally, and it also undermined the business environment. We understand that there are a lot of challenges faced by the SMEs under the uncertainties. Over the years, the CDB has put forward a number of measures to support SMEs, including a fund for supporting the branding, upgrading, and domestic sales of SMEs, export marketing and trade, promoting trade exhibitions and conventions, loan guarantee schemes, and other capacity building schemes to promote diversification of the industry. Now, supporting SMEs is one of the government's key policy areas, but we need to review all support measures from time to time to ensure that we can maintain the effectiveness of these measures under the complicated environment. On one hand, we seek to provide supporting measures to SMEs in a timely, focused, and financially sustainable manner. On the other hand, we need to carefully utilize public funds to ensure that within the limited resources available, we can effectively assist SMEs in enhancing competitiveness to tackle the uncertainties of the global economy and developing markets outside Hong Kong. Today, we are briefing members on our measures to support SMEs. First of all, the funding injection announced in the 2025-26 budget that include the injection into the BUD Fund, the dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales, and the Export Marketing and Trade and Industrial Organization Support Fund, or EMTSF. A total of $1.5 billion will be injected into the two funds, together with the previous injection of $1 billion. Altogether, it brings the total funding amount to $1.75 billion for BUD Fund and $0.75 billion for the EMTSF. It is a testament to the government's unwavering commitment to supporting SMEs despite the current fiscal conditions. And also, under the BUD Fund, we are going to enhance the measures, which include shortening the application cycle from one application in every 6 months to one application in every 3 months. Now, after the special measures expired at the end of June 2026, the Export Marketing Fund will be subsumed under the BUD Fund. This will allow the SMEs to launch a focused efforts to upgrade their brandings and also allow the government to tap the situation more accurately. Now, with our fiscal conditions, we will utilize the funding in the BUD Fund and the EMTSF carefully and effectively. Now, the relevant measures have taken effect last Friday, together with the Director of Trade and Industry. We will answer your questions later on. We will also seek to provide dedicated training sessions in terms of e-commerce for the SMEs. For businesses participating in the Hong Kong Shopping Festival, we are going to provide one-on-one consultancy service on mainland e-commerce platforms to boost their sales. On our paper, we have also listed out the progress of other supporting measures. For example, measures supporting cross-border electronic commerce and branding. Now, for SME financing guarantee scheme, and also the supporting measures launched by the SME Reach Out and the Hong Kong Export Credit Insurance Corporation, they are also listed out on the paper. Now, the proposal in the 2025-6 budget will be implemented after the Appropriation Bill 2025 is passed. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yao. May I remind members, if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the item today, please disclose the nature of such interest according to ROP 83A. I also bring your attention to ROP Section 84 concerning voting arrangements on matters in which you have pecuniary interest in. Now, the floor is now open. Does anyone want to press the button? If not, I will draw the line here. So far, we have Mr. Andrew Ho, Mr. Peter Shill, Robert Lee, Sunny Tang, Johnny Ng, Shanghai Long, Jimmy Ng, Dr. Kennedy Wong, and Mr. Dennis Leung. Each of you will have 4 minutes. Mr. Sunny Tang. Thank you, Chairman. We appreciate the government's efforts to support SMEs. Injections will be made into the BUD Fund and the EMTSF. There's also the shortening of the application cycle to once every 3 months. Now, with the tight fiscal condition, we appreciate that the government must tread more carefully. That's why the 1-to-1 ratio has been dialed down to 3 on the part of business and 1 on the government's part. The SME is not happy about it, but we understand the government's difficulties. Now, when the economic situation improves, can the government offer more support and flexibility to SMEs in terms of the funding schemes? Now, many SMEs are eyeing the mainland and overseas market. So how can the government bring about more overseas and mainland SMEs to Hong Kong to make the ecosystem more vibrant? Secretary. Now, Mr. Sunny Tang is right. Because of the fiscal position, we have to adjust the funding schemes. But we would review the actual situations from time to time. When situation allows, we will adjust the scheme again. It depends on whether the scheme is financially sustainable so that we can offer continuous help to SMEs. Most importantly, we need to ensure that public money is well spent to benefit the largest number of SMEs. We will identify room for adjustment from time to time. Yes, there are more than 50,000 SMEs in the Pearl River Delta alone. Now, the country has given us a mission that is to be a platform or springboard for mainland SMEs to go global. So that's why we are trying to develop Hong Kong into a multinational supply chain management center. With our expertise and professional prowess, we can help SMEs in the mainland go global and facilitate their financing and procurement. Now, Invest Hong Kong and the TDC has organized 15 briefing sessions to share our experience with the SMEs in the mainland. Very soon, a number of SMEs will tap other markets while using Hong Kong as a springboard. At the same time, we seek to bring overseas corporations into the mainland market via Hong Kong so that we can play our roles as a super connector and the super value adder in the geo-circulation of economy. Mr. Chi Ming, thank you, Chairman. Now, in order to focus resources to help SMEs to upgrade themselves, by the middle of 2026, the Export Marketing Fund will be subsumed under the Bud Fund. Now, the maximum funding limit is $1 million. Now, for Bud Fund, the maximum the ceiling of funding is $7 million. Now, after the integration of the two schemes, will the maximum funding amount be $8 million? That is $7 million plus $1 million. And also, the government announced that between year 2028 and 2029, $100 million will be allocated to the Productivity Council for better support of the SMEs. Now, for 5 consecutive financial years, $550 million will be allocated to the Trade Development Council for tapping the opportunities along the Belt and Road and in the Bay Area. Now, with the funding cut, will these ambitions be affected? Secretary, thank you. I will invite Mr. Liu to answer the question. Thank you. After the adjustments to the Bud Fund, the maximum funding amount has been dialed down to $1 million. But we still want to provide maximum support for SMEs. So the maximum funding amount of $7 million will not be reduced. And the $1 million funding cap under the EMF will not be reduced as well. Now, concerning our support for SMEs, all other measures will remain unchanged, including the funding injection to the Productivity Council. Since last year, we have been injecting a total of $100 million by 5 batches to support the SME reach-out services. The SME reach-out provides one-on-one consultation services as well as other services. On e-commerce, there's also a mentorship scheme to help SMEs tap the electronic platform markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Shiu Ka-fai.
對於
regarding raising the cap for the Credit Council from $500 million to $800 million. Actually, this is a very good new piece of news for commerce and industry sector, given the very volatile geopolitical situation in the world, and the SMEs would welcome this. Now, as for the upgrading of branding fund, the BUD fund and the EMF, actually during the past few years, the business sector has been welcoming this with open arms because in terms of marketing, in terms of financial support, this is a great help to them. And in the past, the ratio of contribution between government and the business sector is 1-to-1, but with the tweaking, it's going to be government 1 and business sector 3. In the past, the first installment would be 75% from the government, but now with the reduction, it's going to be 20%. And many SMEs are telling us that it is a hope that the government would really further refine this upward, so as to provide them with more support given the challenging economic condition. And also, there have been cases where the applications have been tendered quite some time ago, but still not yet approved. And so now that the lines have been withdrawn concerning the matching ratio, so which ratio is going to apply to these cases pending approval? In 2024, the number of applications for BUD fund has increased by 320% over the past 5 years from 2024. And also, the EMF fund has also increased by 80% during the same period. The BOD fund has been launched in 2021, and $6 billion have been granted. And during the past 6 years, i.e. from 2019 to 2024, $5.43 billion have been granted. In other words, 90% of the subsidy under the BUD fund has been granted during the past 6 years, and so this is a huge amount. And primarily, under the budget, $1.5 billion will be allocated to Commerce and Industry Bureau for supporting BUD fund and the EMF fund. And downward adjusting the cap of first installment from 75% to 25% really only affect the initial period of the project, and when the project is completed, we will still fund them all the way up to 75%. And of course, we have to look at the major purpose for funding, and that is to support SMEs. And when circumstances are right, we definitely would exploit the situation to relax the restriction as called for by circumstances. Now, if there is a window period where a lot of applications flood in, then the amount of subsidies that will be granted would be quite large, and that will put pressure on our overall financial situation. And that is why we need to immediately implement the new matching ratios. But as I said, we are open to further tweaking the matching ratios towards a more relaxed proportion if circumstances allowed. And as for credit insurance, from 15% to 95%, or 55% to 95%. Actually, that is a very big jump upward, and to a certain extent, this is going to help SMEs. Now, what about applications pending approval? Will they be affected? Before the new rules have been implemented, the old ratios would apply, so they won't be affected. Mr. Ho, to put EMF under Bud Fund after the restructured fund, I'd like to know whether this is going to prolong the period of time needed for approval, and also will cause more delays. And also the matching ratio is to be changed from 1 to 1 to 1 to 3. And also the funding ratio will be reduced from 15% to 20%. And this might increase cash flow pressure for SMEs. And so how can the government ensure that upstart businesses or underprivileged businesses would suffer undue disadvantages in terms of securing financing? Are there any other measures that will help these enterprises that are in lack of financing? And also requiring them only to pay interest but not principal, of course, will prolong the overall repayment period. However, it might also cover up cases where businesses are actually not operating in an optimal manner. And so how can the government monitor the operation of these underperforming businesses to make sure that they won't abuse the funds to prolong their unhealthy operation? And the first-time browsing numbers is 90 million. But only 60% of the brands have indicated that their visibility has increased. But there is no numbers as to whether there is any big help to the increase of sales. And so are there any measures for the government to, over a long term, monitor the efficacy of such scheme in terms of increasing sales so that they won't become window dressing measures? And also the government is doing a big push towards the Middle East. But it seems that the government has no definite timeline or how the budget is to be allocated. So how can the government make sure that this push towards the Middle East is going to yield effects? And I'd like to know what about the past results from previous such marketing exercises. Now, for the first three questions, I'm going to defer to the Director of Industry. And then the next question will be answered by the TDC. Regarding EMF, towards the middle of next year, it will come under the umbrella of BUD fund. Now, whether that will jack up costs? Actually, it goes the other way round, because right now we've got two funds that are in operation, and that is why these two funds are operating differently, and so there is duplication of costs. But next year, when EMF becomes part of Bud Fund, because EMF also is partly responsible for supporting SMEs, and also EMF also has an added ambit that apart from marketing themselves, they also need to upgrade themselves for the SMEs. And so grouping EMF under Bud Fund is going to reduce duplication of structure and duplication of costs, and it will actually bring costs down. As for the funding proportion and for the first stage funding, for first stage funding, it will come down from 75% to 20%. And as the Bureau Secretary has pointed out, we do that because we need to be mindful of the financial sustainability of the fund. And at the same time, in the past, when we are paying 75% in the first stage financing, we discover actually certain problems because first stage funding, if it becomes too large, then for projects that fail to complete, this is sometimes an incentive for the project's proponents not to complete that project because they already have gotten the lion's share of the funding in the first stage of the financing. And so we believe that reducing the first stage funding actually is conducive to robbing project proponents of any incentive for completing the projects and reducing such questionable projects. Any further questions or any further supplement? Thank you. For Hong Kong Shopping Festival last time, that was launched last time. Because we wanted SMEs in Hong Kong to really get used to the ecology and landscape of e-commerce environment. In the past, SMEs might not be too acclimatized towards the landscape and ecology of e-shopping, such as setting up sale points on the internet and so on and so forth. And the Hong Kong Shopping Festival was supposed to help them. And we want to turn Hong Kong Shopping Festival into an easy e-shop platform so that SMEs can really take advantage of this opportunity to build up their capability in doing e-commerce. We will also hold workshops as well as seminars for their benefit. And such workshops and seminars will also enable Hong Kong SMEs to share in the experiences of previous e-shopping and e-commerce experiences that were accumulated in Southeast Asia and elsewhere overseas, and so that we can put SMEs more in touch with e-commerce opportunities. Next, Mr. Lee, SMEs. Of course, number 360,000 in Hong Kong, and they are a huge part of Hong Kong's economy, and they account for 98% of Hong Kong's economy, as well as 44% of all people employed, apart from civil service. Of course, resources are limited within the government, and the government would want to make judicious use of taxpayers' money. And against such a backdrop, I'd like to hear more from the Bureau Secretary as to how to quantify this. If you look at Bud Fund, obviously 10,000 applications have been approved involving $6.2 billion. 6,700 SMEs have been assisted. According to my understanding, the government actually is managing over 70 subsidy schemes. And from the business sector, we have heard that certain really needful cases actually have failed to get applications, while applications that are quite undeserving, but because they know how to play the system, they are successful in getting funding. And so I'd like to know whether you have done anything to tackle this. Have you done any opinion survey as to the failed or the rejected applications, as to why the applications have failed, and also for the successful applications, exactly how do you quantify the efficacy of the funding that you grant them to assist them? And also, in order to exploit opportunities in Greater Bay Area and also Middle East and so on and so forth. Of course, SMEs have participated in these pushes. I'd like to know whether you have done any survey as to how many of these SMEs actually have been successful in making actual deals, because this is really more than a PR exercises for these SMEs to visit those destination places. What we're really interested in is in whether after their visits they have actually been successful in closing deals. And so I'd like to know whether you have quantified the results of your schemes this way.
I will first defer the question on Bud Fund to the Director General of Trade and Industry and also the Trade Development Council for the other question. Mr. Aaron Liu, thank you. Concerning the application for the Bud Fund, how high is the success rate and what are the factors we consider? For each and every application, we would vet these applications very seriously. We have layers of vetting process to ensure that the application is up to standard. We also have requirements on regular reporting and also site inspection to ensure that the usage of the funding aligns with our purpose. For unsuccessful applications, we would tell the applicants why the application failed. For example, the funding application is out of scope, or the failure to submit information to prove that the usage of the fund is fit for purpose. In terms of the achievements of the fund, and the Productivity Council is a partner under the fund. Now, exit survey shows that more than 90% of the recipients of fund think that the fund has helped them to gain more exposure and recognition and also expanding their business. Patrick, can you give us a short answer in terms of the figures? Thank you. We have delegations overseas to tap new markets. At the same time, we would set up the Hong Kong pavilions in the emerging markets by involving the SMEs as well. Now, many SMEs would return to the exhibition the next year in the Hong Kong pavilion because they find it's very effective, although they will have to pay for themselves the next time around. So, of course, we have exhibitions and conferences in Hong Kong as well. That is also a platform bringing overseas and local traders together. We also regularly review whether there are emerging markets where we should establish a Hong Kong pavilion in. Mr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. Despite the tight fiscal position, the government still injected more funding into the Bud Fund and the EMTSF. It is a testament to the government's determination to support SMEs. My question is whether the funding approved really helped the recipients. Have you followed up on how the recipients are doing after the approval of fund? Now, the Hong Kong Shopping Festival last year was very successful. There were more than 290 brands, bringing some 90,000 attendees. Now, the second Hong Kong Shopping Festival will be held this year. So how will the Trade Development Council boost the attendance of the events? Director General of Trade and Industry. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Ng, for your questions. Concerning how we can ensure that the Bud Fund is effective without any abuse. As I said, there is a rigorous vetting process for every application. The Secretariat would vet that the applications are in compliance with the basic requirements. And then we would forward the application to an interdepartmental task force for approval. The application usually comes with multifaceted elements, so we need an interdepartmental team to vet the approval. And then there is an internal review committee. Acting as the final hurdle. So we would only grant the approval if the application meets the standard in all respects. After approval, we will regularly review the progress of the project, and also we require the applicants to submit a report to us regularly. Now, the initial funding amount has been dialed down to 20%. In other words, the remaining 80% would be dispersed only if the review committee is happy with the report submitted by the recipient. In the interim, the Secretariat would maintain communication with the recipient or even conduct an on-site inspection to ensure that the recipient is following the requirements under the fund. This is how we ensure that the public money is well spent. Dr. Patrick Lau. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Ng. Now, based on last year's experience, we have reached out to chambers of commerce and SME businesses sooner than last year. And also we have launched the e-commerce express as a total solution, providing one-stop training and workshops for SMEs participating in the second edition of the Hong Kong Shopping Festival. Now, in terms of traffic, as the festival, based on last year's experience, we are collaborating with Red Note, Jingdong, and Tmall to boost the footfall. Last year, we received some help free of charge from some e-commerce platforms. We are also collaborating with influencers to boost the impact of the second edition of the Hong Kong Shopping Festival. Mr. Shang Hailong. Thank you, Chairman. Now, SMEs account for 98% of our businesses. They are vital for our economy and our employment markets. We heard enhancement measures for the BUD fund. The application cycle has been sped up to once every 3 months. I believe that would be very helpful for SMEs. Now, according to the Director General, to apply for the fund, you have to go through 3 hurdles. The HK Productivity Council would vet the application, and then the Interdepartmental Working Group, and finally the Review Committee. So with just the 20% funding amount, the SMEs still have to fulfill your requirements to get the remaining 80%. So we are worried about the progress of funding disbursement. Some SMEs complained of the long approval procedure. Now, according to the government's reply, more manpower will be dedicated to vetting the applications under SME, under the Bud Fund, so that the government make use of the I'm Smart system and the business identity system to speed things up. If not, why not? Second question is for the TDC. We have the e-commerce easy and also other live streaming sales activities. Now the national government attaches a lot of importance to a unified market and also $300 billion 300 billion RMB wealth of ultra-long sovereign bond will be launched according to the latest announcement. So how can we help and prepare our local SMEs to tap the vast mainland market? Director General. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Shang. Concerning the vetting efficiency of the Bud Fund, we have a service pledge. Upon receipt of all the documents, a decision will be made within 60 days. That's why we have seen a huge jump in the approval figure. Now, the Secretariat of the HK TDC has a manpower shortage. So we are also harnessing AI to perform an initial vetting on the applications to shorten the process a bit while lowering the cost. That should come in handy, and we expect that the approval time can be shortened in the short run. In terms of the digital business identity, that is a program under the ITIB. So when the program is launched, we will study how it can help us shorten the approval process of the Bud Fund. Thank you, Mr. Shang Hailong, for your questions. First, on the Hong Kong Shopping Festival, we will continue to target the mainland market, and together with the e-commerce express, a one-stop platform to help SMEs, we believe that local SMEs will receive more help in terms of tapping the e-commerce markets in the mainland. Second, over the past years, the Hong Kong TDC has been leading the Hong Kong delegation to attend various trade exhibitions and conventions to expose our SMEs to the mainland market. Now, according to the local businesses, they think they have achieved much from these exhibitions. Now, in terms of bringing businesses in the mainland to join our trade show, we are seeing higher participation in our events by mainland authorities. For example, the Hong Kong Film Festival. Some provinces authority have led delegation to participate in our film festival as well. Thank you.
Mr. Hong, many constituents of my sector would like to express appreciation towards the Commerce and Industry Bureau because we see that the government is under budget deficit pressure. Still, the government is willing to provide extra resources for SMEs under the BUD fund or other means. Of course, the amount of subsidy granted in each case will be revised downward from $1 million, but because resources are indeed limited, I do support this because we want it to be fair. Now, I'd like to approach this from two angles. As Patrick has pointed out, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council actually has a very extensive global network, and the DAB actually has done a France visit, and we are really thankful to TDC for putting us in touch with France's high-tech companies. And many of them actually are interested in coming to Hong Kong. However, they are not the key targets for bringing into Hong Kong, and they might not be able to invest a lot of money. It's only that they have certain research products that they would like to make use of in marketing themselves to Hong Kong, and they might not be able to make a huge investment. And so for these overseas enterprises, I'd like to know whether the government can help them. And also many members of my sector have indicated that they have tried to push towards the Middle East and also to ASEAN countries, especially with regard to halal food products. I'd like to know whether the TDC local offices can provide them with more support, say, giving them a hotline for them to call locally, and if they need information or support, can the government or TDC give them any assistance there? I thank Mr. Wong for his questions. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Wong for supporting this new policy under the government, and thank you especially for your understanding. Now, as for overseas enterprises, even if they are small in scale, if they want to come to Hong Kong, Invest Hong Kong actually has a responsibility of giving them whatever help they need. And also overseas ETOs have to play the role of acting as a bridge between overseas enterprises and Hong Kong, and to provide them with necessary information. And so that is the responsibility of the government through the ETOs. And if enterprises would like to market themselves in ASEAN or Middle East, TDC actually has kept advisory offices in many of these places, and they can provide support. ETO, of course, is part of the government, but when enterprises are overseas and they are in need of help, they can go to ETO to get information from us so that they have an easier time in getting in touch with local business opposite numbers. And so ETOs as well as TDC both have roles in helping enterprises in Hong Kong to go global, and also helping overseas enterprises to come into Hong Kong, and for Hong Kong enterprises to go into GBA. Now, if you have any suggestions, you can, or ideas, you can put them to the Commerce and Industry Bureau, and we'll see what we can do. Mr. Le, I'd like to thank the SAR government for setting aside resources to help Hong Kong's SMEs to fully realize their potentials so that Hong Kong's economy can benefit. And in the main, it will also help the job market so that members of the public can really benefit from improvement in the economy. I have certain question for the Director General for Industry, even though he has just reported to office recently. In the past, BUD fund applications have been set to be not particularly efficient in processing applications. And the staff has reflected that they mostly handle telephone inquiries, and they have to come back to work on Saturdays and Sundays. And we have requested the previous Director of Industry to really help us in this regard. When SMEs have to apply for BUD fund, it seems that the processing time required was not satisfactory because the frontline staff of the government actually have done a good job in processing applications, but it seems that the senior level of the Bud Fund approval departments have not been making things very, very efficient. It seems that applications can really be stuck with these senior level of approval for a very long time before being approved. And so I'd like to know whether the government can first of all speed this up and also can make more use of smart technologies so as to speed up the processing time for applications for Bud Fund. So that the Bud Fund's potential can be fully realized and SMEs can be fully helped. I thank members for his questions. I definitely will go back to talk to the Commerce and Industry Department to see how the whole process can be streamlined. Of course, the bottom line of the policy is to help SMEs as effectively as possible. And maybe certain applicants have not been totally satisfied with the processing time and the processing performance, and we'll try to see what we can do. And as has been mentioned by the Director General of Industry, we are definitely going to bring in smart technology and AI to speed up the process. Actually, the Audit Department has given us an audit report as to where to improve with regard to Bud Fund processing, and we definitely have heard you, and we'll go back and see what we can do to improve the situation. Director General can add. As the Bureau Secretary has correctly pointed out, we are attacking this from various fronts. First of all, we thank our frontline staff for their output. During the past few years, the BOD fund applications have really jumped explosively in number, and that's why we have already increased the number of staff for Productivity Council. During the past year, the size of staffing has increased significantly, and the latest figure is 120 officers are now working on processing applications. As has been pointed out by the Bureau Secretary, we are also thinking about making use of AI to further streamline the processing process. We have already done that in terms of streamlining the application forms and also streamlining the process of processing applications by staff. And we also want to reduce the time required by staff to handle the applications. Of course, we'll see whether there is still any further room for improvement. And we thank you for your input, and we thank our staff for their input. Madam Priscilla Leung, first of all, I'd like to point out that SMEs are very important, and I support giving them suitable support and also to encourage them to reinvent themselves and go global. I'm really concerned about the survival of SMEs in our economy, especially after the pandemic. Now, concerning the schemes that require them to pay interest but not principal, of course, that's a big help. But for SMEs that are really small in scale, maybe they are really buckling under the pressure and they have to wind themselves up and they have to go bankrupt. Now, will you step in at any point to really understand whether there is really any justified need for them to wind up? And after they have wound up, what kind of impact will it have on the budget of the scheme? And also, have you provided any assistance to these struggling enterprises to reinvent themselves or move into another line of business and so on and so forth? I've heard from the market that certain SMEs are saying that they really actually are dying, and however, if they continue to drag themselves on, it would not impact on the budget of the funding. But what if they indeed have decided to wind up? Now, let me give you some statistics. Apart from repaying interest but not principal, we have also another part of the scheme that requires them to not only pay interest but also part of the principal. And the repayment of principal can stretch out over 15 years. If the enterprises are encountering problems, they can of course make use of the partial principal repayment provisions, and at the same time they can also talk to the bank to work out an optimum proportion of principal that they need to repay. And we have also notified the banking sector to help the SMEs as soon as possible to stretch out their principal repayment period. And as I said, in the longest situation, the repayment period can stretch out to as long as 15 years. Assistant Secretary will supplement me. The Bureau Secretary has indicated very correctly, interest payment only without principal payment is part of the policy. And 2,000 enterprises actually have applied for this feature of the scheme. So we have actually provided means for the enterprises to really survive as best as possible. And as has been pointed out, the enterprises can always talk to the bank to work out alternative means for repayment of principal. And only after the negotiation has failed would the bank go after them for repayment. Indeed, the whole society supports the SMEs. However, some SMEs are really aging SMEs, and maybe the first generation of management doesn't want to go on, and if second generation takes over, then the government, of course, will have to help the second generation to reinvent themselves. Now, of course, you have provision to help them to stretch repayment to over 15 years, but they might not want it. There may be SMEs that want to go out of business. So you have to know each case. And also, there may be cases where if you provide them with assistance or feedback or some support, then they might be able to be willing to go on. Of course, we are very generous. We want to help the SMEs to go on. But some SMEs may not be interested in going on. And so you have to know exactly how many there are in this category and how best to handle such cases. Right? We will definitely go back to see how these cases should be best handled. Of course, part of our work is to help the enterprises to reinvent themselves so that they can continue to operate, maybe to go on to e-commerce and so on and so forth. Indeed, we should go back and look at these cases. If some enterprises are really indicating that they want to go out of business, we really have to differentiate those cases with other cases that actually could go on if we give them a little bit of support. Of course, SMEs do not only need funding support but also policy support. Now, during the past NPC plenary session, the central government has passed us a major directive, i.e., to really deepen our support for SMEs. Certain parts of the international community has certain bias or misunderstanding towards Hong Kong. And Hong Kong's commerce sector, including SMEs, are only willing to act as ambassadors in this regard, because each company and each member of the business sector has got his or her own networks as well as channels of communication with their overseas opposite numbers. And so how can you help the business sector to act as our ambassadors? Hong Kong has been working very, very hard to lure overseas investors to come to Hong Kong. For instance, the Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce will go to the U.S. towards the end of April to do lobbying and to do exchange of views with our counterparts in USA. And so apart from relying on ETOs and TDC. TDC, of course, is a big help here. In what other regards can the government redouble its efforts to support business sectors to act as our ambassadors?
Thank you. That is a very good question. During the two sessions, we, the central government, laid down a direction that is to deepen international relations. So besides signing more free trade agreements with more jurisdictions, we have a very close partnership with businesses in the mainland to go global together. We want to tap emerging markets in the world. Now, every year, the chief executive would bring along business leaders in visiting places. We also invite businesses from various provinces to join us in overseas delegations. Now, the State Reform and Development Commissions in various provinces would also join hands with the Hong Kong SAR governments to visit foreign markets. Now, with the network of the TDC in overseas markets, businesses in the country can utilize the network and forge relationships. Now, the Invest Hong Kong would bring overseas businesses to Hong Kong, while the TDC can help mainland businesses to go global via Hong Kong. There are misunderstandings towards Hong Kong in many foreign markets. So with these foreign delegations, we can reach out to business partners overseas and tell good stories of Hong Kong. That is also an important area of work under the CEDB. We will rise up to the call of the central government during the two sessions, that is to strengthen our international relations with the world. We appreciate the Secretary's work in reaching out to overseas markets. Now we look forward to good news from the Invest Hong Kong. So the government is going to inject fundings into the Bud Fund and the EMTSF. Subject to the passage of the Appropriation Bill 2025, the injection will materialize. So do all members support this financial proposal? It is agreed. Thank you, Secretary, and other government officials for attending the discussion of this item. Next, item 4, restructuring of the state key laboratories in Hong Kong. We will now invite the government officials and the representatives of the universities to come in. We welcome Ms. Lillian Zhong, Other Secretary for ITI, Mr. Philip Ha, Deputy Commissioner for Innovation and Technology, Ms. Lee Wan-in, Assistant Commissioner for Innovation and Technology. We also welcome Professor Zhang Xiang, Professor Yu Jun, and Professor Chen Jihao. First of all, I will invite the Undersecretary to walk us through the paper. Members, if you have any questions, please press the button. How long will the briefing take? Chairman, I will be very brief, and then I will give the floor to each of the professors. The presentation will be 5 to 6 minutes long each. Chairman, members, today we are briefing you on the progress in restructuring the state key laboratories in Hong Kong. To tie in with the overall development strategy of the country, by the end of 2023, the Innovation and Technology Commission, or ITC, initiated a restructuring of the state key laboratories in Hong Kong on the premises that the number of state key laboratories in Hong Kong will not be significantly affected. We will restructure the SKLs through mergers or integrations or cancellation. Now, after the invitation extended by the ITC, we have received some 20 applications. Afterwards, we have conducted site visits and assessed the applications. Now, the Ministry of Science and Technology have approved 12 existing state key laboratories to be restructured, while acknowledging the establishment of the 3 new state key laboratories. They will start running in July this year. Every year, each state key laboratories would receive $20 million in funding from the ITC, and also each university will have to inject $4 million for the operation of the SKLs. Each year, the SKLs need to report to the ITIB concerning the progress of their research as well as the work plan. The details of the restructuring are listed out in the paper. We invite members to note the latest progress of the restructuring. Now, running on this opportunity, we would like to invite the heads of 3 state key laboratories to tell us about their work and how their work complements the national development strategies. And we welcome members' views and questions. We will first invite Director Professor Zhang Qiang to brief us.
Not good enough, so I will use a Mandarin.
我哋兩文三語絕對冇問題。
We have interpretation, so please feel free to speak any language you want.
Report to you that 3 university team, Hong Kong U, Hong Kong UST, and CityU, we form a very strong team to work on this frontier of quantum light source materials as a state key lab. And as you all know, that today's world with internet, AI, and information is a huge volume. Now today, for example, if we all sit here, in the future we may project a hologram of each individual. You can be at home, but your hologram is here. That needs a huge amount of information bits to transfer and to calculate and to compute. So this actually has all 3 layers. One is actually how we sense the world. That is a network of sensors, billions of them in our elderly homes, in the hospital, to monitor various of structures and humans. And then we will collect this information, compute, and then afterwards we will apply. For example, in the future elderly homes, you could have hundreds of sensors in the bedroom and the kitchen and so on to monitor the elderly motion and their health conditions, and then their information will be streamed into a hospital, and doctors will analyze their conditions and so on. So this is a huge demand for computing and information. Now, what's the challenge for today? We all know that our country needs to solve the computer chips problem and how we commute and communicate through internet and huge volumes, and so-called bottleneck problems, 卡脖子技术. So today's electronics computer chips is already reached the bottleneck of so-called post-Moore era, and now we must come from the very fundamental, the physics level, so-called the upstream research to explore other means of information computation and transfer. Now we propose to use the optics or photons instead of electrons to do this. Now this is, of course, it's a huge national need and also a frontier of science. And we, three universities, will propose to focus on two areas. One is how we explore the light or photons to do information transfer and computing. And secondly, we will explore new quantum materials that couple with the photonics to store information, compute information, and transport information. So electronics today, they are all in the metals or semiconductors, and they are not like light can freely flying through the 3D space as we see the light today. So the photons offers a lot of freedoms to do information transport, and therefore these present a huge potential compared with electronics. And so we propose to have integration of photons and the electronics on a same chip, and that can enhance tremendously of our capability of the computing chip. So this actually, of course, it's a worldwide competition, and China need to be positioned that to be a leader in this area. And we have been established with both our collaborations with mainland and also overseas to bridge this important frontier of science. So in terms of team, led by Hong Kong U, and then we have collaborators from UST, Hong Kong UST, and the City U. And as you can see, that our team members are highly capable, and many of them are highly cited scientists or global STEM professor. And some of them are the outstanding young researcher, Jie Qing. This is the one of the prestige title from China's Science and Technology Ministry. So we have two areas. One is the photonics, that we have professors from three universities, and also condensed matter physics that studied what are the quantum materials that provide such a capability. So these two areas will interact, collaborate, and produce this optoelectronics chip. And just give you a general idea of how this team, over the last 30 years, this team carries the prominence of, in physics area, the whole Hong Kong has about 5 major excellence of research, AOE, area of excellence. Total awarded over 30 years, about 5, and this team actually won 4 of them. So 80% actually carries by this team over the last 30 years in these important projects in Hong Kong. So that means actually this team is highly qualified and capable. And in terms of worldwide impact of this team, as you can see, their capabilities and their credentials. Especially, I'd like to highlight our young team member who won a prestigious cornerstone researcher. The whole Hong Kong has, in physics, has 4, and this team contains 3 of them. And also in Tencent Explorer Prize, this is also highly prestige prize. We have a 3-member won the prize. And so in addition, National Science Foundation First Class, this is a Chinese Laboratories Prize. We have a team member also won this prize. And not to say this various of prize in Asia and in the world. And also MIT prize for 35 years younger one. We also have a member won this prestigious prize. So this team is highly international, well-known, and capable. Now, let me talk about that important mission for this project is try to establish a global collaboration. We all know that it's difficult in this current geopolitical situation now, but it is more important for China to collaborate with overseas and Hong Kong, and our team has long tradition of collaboration with international leading universities such as MIT, Stanford, Berkeley, Cambridge, Harvard, and Max Planck Institute in Germany, and Imperial College. And so in the Greater Bay Area, the team also is a leader in leading this GBA, Quantum Science Institute, which is funded by Guangdong government with about 1 billion each year for 10 years. So this is a large setup at the Hetao area. Now it's already established for last 2 years, and Hong Kong U team is in charge of 2 of the 6 divisions in this area. One is the atomic physics and optics, and the other is quantum computing. So we already integrate with the GBA physicists and researchers, and has a very close collaboration with Chinese Academy of Science in Beijing, Nanjing University, Tsinghua University, National Nanotechnology Center in Beijing, and also Suzhou Material Science National Laboratory. So we have a very close collaboration within mainland and also with international. So we want to use this to bridge the whole collaboration. Now, in terms of facilities, Hong Kong U has been working on the building up this capability of tech landmark, which are the 3 large buildings to host the science, engineering, and medicine. And this total we will dedicate 2,500 meters square. And also all the we have invested 1 billion Hong Kong dollar for equipment. Our vision is twofold. One is connect the basic science, the upstream research, with the China's high-tech sector to help China's industry, especially in the computing, electronics, and photonics, and also to connect China's the research with the international arena. So that's basically my report. Thank you.
好，主席，如果可以，我哋
If possible, now we would like to ask Mr. Yu Guan to give the presentation under him or her. And I think you have to be more succinct because we are pressed for time.
向大家汇报消化疾病研究全国重点实验室。首先呢，要汇报呢，实验室成立以来。
I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So I just want to let you know exactly what we're doing in order to act as a bridge. You know that stomach cancer and colon cancer and liver cancer have already accounted for number 2 to 4 in a ranking of occurrence rate for malignant growth. And also, our major research is in metabolic fat liver related diseases. And so this is a very, very important scientific issue. And so we are trying to discover new markers as well as new target designators for our drugs, and also to provide a treatment guidelines and also a prognosis guideline for relevant medical practitioner, and finally to eventually solve clinical problems. And in terms of the causative agent for liver cancer, we have discovered a new such agent. Strep bacteria is discovered to also be a causative agent for liver cancer. And so this is very helpful in providing immunotherapy. And also in terms of fatty liver, we are trying to use plasma to act as a marker and also to come up with a testing solution. We discover that the protein for liver cancer can be marked out through this new marker. And we have already secured 86 patents, and 3 of them actually have already been converted into applicable products. And in March 2018, we have already won approval from the National Medication Ministry in order to launch clinical tests for the products. And also in Hong Kong and in Southeast Asia, such clinical tests have already been launched. And these testing agents could be very, very helpful in detecting liver cancer and stomach cancer at an early stage so that effective early treatment can be provided. And we've got 107 persons in our team, and we've got many PhD as well as a master graduates, and our team structure comprises mostly young people, and they are very, very ambitious and also very, very motivated. And during the past 5 years, we have been very instrumental in nurturing young talents to join our team. And 2 of our team members actually have already won scientific awards given by the state. Starting from 2013, when the laboratory was first set up, we have won 352 accolades of various kinds. And we have won various scientific progress awards under the He Li Jijing scientific funds, as well as the New Cornerstone Fund, and so on and so forth. In 2023 and 2024, 2 years in a row, we have been ranked number 3 in the world and first in Asia as a leading research laboratory in liver cancer as well as stomach cancer. And looking ahead, how can we further focus on national needs and also to further leverage Hong Kong's advantages? After restructuring, our mission will continue to focus on common digestive cancers that are suffered by our fellow nationals. And we'll also explore AIs and also immunotherapies as well as other therapies to deal with digestive diseases frequently suffered by Chinese people. And as for our future roadmap, we'll continue to fight and trying to reach for newer level of excellence. And we'll continue to train up excellent talents in order to join our ranks and join the ranks of research people for our country. And also we'll continue to maintain our leading position as a leading research laboratory for digestive diseases. And also we'll work very, very closely with the National Development Plan and to make best use of Hong Kong's advantages. Next, Mr. Chen Chi-ho. He's a professor for Hong Kong City U. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the Innovation and Technology Department for presenting to you our laboratory. And we were first set up in 2005 as one of the SKLs. And in 1984, the Hong Kong Polytechnic Electronic Engineering Department actually had already come up with the antenna for terahertz. And this is a critical component for terahertz communication. And Professor Lok actually has won many awards. And just yesterday, we have received news that Professor Lok has just won the 2025 Chen Tai Educator Award in view of the great contribution he's made in training up talents in this regard. And during the past decade, we have moved from microwave research to milliwave research for application to 6G and 7G devices. And we're talking about milliwave devices. And the higher the frequency, the faster the communication and also the shorter the wavelength, and the more expensive the equipment will become. And from assistant professor to resident professor, we've got 20 of them on our team. And from Princeton universities, from Berkeley universities have been represented on our team. And also we've got local universities representatives from City University and other universities. And our laboratory has got a first-grade testing equipment, and all because of the most support as well as Hong Kong SAR support. And under the one country, two system, our laboratory has been able to fully realize its potential and has been very effective in promoting exchanges among scientific personnel from different locations. And also we can still acquire very precise equipment for testing, even under the present geotechnic tension. And also we have already yielded very important results through our research. We have come up with terahertz chips as well as micro or milliwave photons chips, and we continue to use these as our targets to reach for new heights. And also we have come up with a platform for membrane lithium chips. And also we have come up with a hyper speed microwave photon processing engine, which is 1,000 times faster than regular processor. And Nature magazine has already carried the results of our research. And one of the co-writers of this paper is a year 3 undergraduate student. And also we have come up with a milliwave photon radar, and it's got very, very high resolution, down to millimeters. And for the development of 6G core technology, this is going to provide very much impetus for the development of low altitude economy. And we can also attract the best talents in the world to come to Hong Kong to work and to settle. And we have also talked up with GBA high-tech communication companies so as to jointly develop 6G technologies. And also we've got very high-tech antenna as well as terahertz closed circuit as well as terahertz photon processor and new semiconductor materials that could be applicable to medical uses. And these could be fresh directions for Hong Kong's development into high technology and high value-added industry. In the past, we have trained up many talents for our country, and they have become leaders in their field, and many of them have been awarded Excellent Youth Awards. And the Electronic Engineering University's school chancellor was actually a person that was trained by us. And from Southeastern University, Professor Gao Liang actually has also been a graduate from our laboratory. And also we have signed up many MOUs with very renowned research institutes, and many of them have already yielded good results. For instance, we are jointly developing 6G technologies with China Mobile Hong Kong. And we are also helping Chinese Communication Research Institute to come up with best means in order to set down standards for 6G devices and technology. And also we are working with the Chinese Science Institute Laboratory on ion materials products. And this is very important for development of green technologies in China. Thank you.
位教授呢將兩文三語
Thank you, the three professors, for using multi-languages to do your presentation. Now it's time for members to put questions to the floor. 7 members have indicated, actually, correction, 8 have indicated that they would like to speak. Mr. Dennis Leung, Martin Liao, Johnny Ng, Tan Yu Hang, Wendy Hong, Priscilla Leung, Lo Wai Kok. Each of you will be given 3 minutes. Questions and answers inclusive. So please be succinct with your questions if you want a thorough answer from the professors. Mr. Leung.
Thank you, Chairman. Now, Annexes 1 and 2 Annex 1 is the 16 existing state key laboratories. 10 has been classified as outstanding and 6 as meritorious by the MOST. So which 10 and which 6? So Annex 2 mentioned 3 new SKLs. So can we have more information on these 3 new ones? Now these SKLs are run on public funding. So can we have the financial reports of these SKLs? Now for the 10 outstanding SKLs, what were their past achievements and what will they contribute to our economy with their research results? How can they help improve our economy? Can we have more information on their results so that we know how attractive they are to scientific talents overseas? Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Now, for the 10 outstanding SKLs, first of all, the Ministry of Science and Technology, or MOST, has recognized the prowess of our SKLs. Most of them were classified as outstanding. For the meritorious ones, it includes the SKL of brain and cognitive sciences and so on. For some SKLs, the research team is smaller, and for others, there is room for refinements of their research results. Now, after the restructuring initiative, all the SKLs will follow the national needs as directed by the MOST. So in terms of restructuring, even after the restructuring, the MOST still places 15 SKLs in Hong Kong. So that shows the country's recognition for our research talents. Now, the ITC offers annual funding to the SKLs in Hong Kong. Now, for the report will be submitted to the MOST via the ITC. So these are in the public domain. In terms of research results, we attach a lot of importance to the outcomes. That's why we have invited the 3 professors to brief members on the outcomes. It's not just on frontier technologies, but also on the application front. As Professor Yun mentioned, her research result is applicable to cancer treatment and also terahertz research, as well as the quantum optics. These technologies are applicable in manufacturing, and also for our research in agrobiotechnology. We help the farmers in the rural areas in the country to grow better crops. Now, most state key laboratories are involved in frontier technology research to meet the country's needs. In the process, we hope that these SKLs would also bring about translational benefits as well, but the focus of these SKLs is on frontier research. Mr. Martin Liao, Chairman. The Chinese name of the SKLs is renamed from 國家重點實驗室 to 全國重點實驗室. It shows the deepening of reform in the area of scientific research. Now, the 2-session report mentioned that we need to reform the operational model of SKLs. Now, I'm pleased to see that 12 SKLs in Hong Kong have been recognized by the MOST after the restructuring. Now, we should contribute to the national strategy of empowering the country with technology. So in terms of the governance structure and the deliverables of the SKLs? Does the government have a long-term plan? And will the government strive to have more national level scientific projects to be conducted in Hong Kong? Will the government bring together SKLs in Hong Kong to collaborate with national authorities on a higher level to achieve breakthroughs in chokehold technologies? Second, SKLs in Hong Kong should have our own characteristics. Now, in Hong Kong, we are a data center. Now, the Cyberports and the Hong Kong Science and Technology Corporations has established a data platform across the border. Now, in Hong Kong, we also have these streams in medical science, pharmaceutical research, and other areas. So will the government encourage the SKLs and our I&T sector to establish a data and information sharing platform in Hong Kong? Undersecretary, thank you. All three suggestions are directions we are actively pursuing now. Now, Mr. Liao mentioned that we need to align ourselves with the country's breakthrough in technological research and reform in mechanisms. So that's why we would like to strive for more state key laboratories to be established in Hong Kong surrounding our strengths, including AI and biotechnology, especially biotechnology. We should focus on biotechnology research as assisted by AI. We would like to have a state laboratory to be established in the Hetao area. Now, in Hong Kong, we have two platforms. One is AI and robotics. The other is biotechnology. We are now building the third platform under the Inno Hong Kong system. So that is in line with the country's national strategy of advanced manufacturing and advanced materials. There will be a $3 billion frontier technology research funding scheme focusing on these areas. So we have a clear direction. That is, we will attack the most frontier technological areas with full force. Now, can we have more national scientific projects to be run in Hong Kong? Actually, our state key laboratories are involved in the country's 20-30 plus scientific projects. For example, Professor Yu Jun is involved in 2 projects involving brains. Now, we are also discussing with the Natural Scientific Fund on whether more projects can be opened for the participation of our researchers. Now, among the SKLs in Hong Kong, many of them are involved in national projects. Some of them are even leaders in these projects. Thirdly, data center. How can we encourage research data sharing? We are now communicating with authorities in the Greater Bay Area for establishing a platform for data sharing. In the next step, we may be able to achieve bigger breakthrough in the Hetao area. We would also like to harness the power of national scientific apparatus to assist our researchers. Thank you. 5 members are waiting to ask questions, so please keep the time strictly. Dr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to see the 3 professors and receive their briefing on the research outcomes. I fully support their work. I have some questions. In terms of money, the government allocates $20 million each year to the SKLs, and $4 million would come from the universities. So is the funding amount sufficient? About the assessment, there are regular assessments conducted. So what are the assessment standards? Publications of journals, patents, or transferable outcomes? And who would be doing the assessments? Experts from Hong Kong or from the world? Now, third, I have a suggestion. Most of the public in Hong Kong do not know that there are frontier technological research projects happening in Hong Kong. So since we have spent so much money on this, we should make it public. Of course, we have to keep the confidential data away from the public, but we need to tell the public that there is a future for scientific research in Hong Kong. Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I will take the second and third questions. For the third question, I would defer to the professors. In terms of assessments, the MOST and the ITC would conduct assessments on the SKLs regularly. Now, the MOST would deploy a team of national or state-level scientists to conduct the assessment. Many of our SKLs are actively collaborating with top-tier research bodies and post-secondary institutions in the world. It is a testament to their strengths. In terms of publicity, like Dr. Ng said, we will step up our efforts on publicity. With such marvelous outcomes, and also the depth of our talent pool, we would like the public to know the depth of our resources. Now, in terms of government funding, I would defer to the professor. Now, we receive $20 million per year. Now, as I said, the apparatus is very costly. So 1/3 of the funding would go to purchase of equipment. 1/3 would go to the salary of the regular research team. The remaining 1/3 would be left for exploration of new directions. But this is just a seed fund. That encourages our professors to eye bigger projects. For example, we have several projects which stems from government-funded projects. In other words, besides government funding, we would also seek other funding sources to support our research. Now, let me give you an example. Now, Professor Chen Chi-Ning from the CTU, he is a quantum physics scientist. He needs apparatus to support his theories. So with our support, he published a very important article just the past month. So apparatus is for sharing with other researchers in Hong Kong and even in the Bay Area. Next, Dr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the 3 professors for your introduction. Now, I will keep my questions short. First, we're building Hong Kong into an international I&T hub. Our strength lies in basic research. Now, among the 15 SKLs, they are testament to the strength of our basic research. So what leading role will these SKLs play? Now, President Xi told the education sector that the education sector is very important for technological autonomy. We need to have our own talents. Now, universities are the main source of scientific talents in Hong Kong. So with the establishment of SKLs in Hong Kong, what role will they play in talent nurturing? 3, among the 15 SKLs, 2 are laboratories jointly established by several universities. For example, the SKL of optical quantum materials involve the HKU, the HAUST, and the CityU. Now, with the joint venture model, is there an established joint collaborative mechanism among the universities?
亦都多謝譚
Secretary. I thank the member for the 3 questions. For fundamental research, Hong Kong's biggest strength is our strength in upstream scientific research, and this is the best way we can contribute to our nation. And so we definitely will try to play a leading role here. And the purpose is to produce scientific research results that are revolutionary as well as original and innovative. And as has been mentioned, Mr. Zhang Chang, the school chancellor, is really leading research in a critical technology that is very, very important to our nation's scientific development. And also, just now, Professor Yu has pointed out research in medicine and also treatment for pathological conditions that are especially relevant to our nation. And so we are going to play a leading role here in matching talents and also matching institutions. Now, concerning training of talents, all 3 professors have indicated that laboratories under them can actually act as a platform through which they can attract overseas and international talents to come to the laboratories and in the bigger picture come to Hong Kong. Because without such laboratories, you cannot attract such talents to come to Hong Kong. Earlier on, we've got a scientific research support fund of $3 billion. And so that really is conducive to attracting talents to come to Hong Kong. And at the same time, we are also trying to train up local talents so that they are good enough to really do a major national level research. And also whether it's our SKLs as well as other R&D research, all of them are tasked with the responsibility of promoting international exchange and also resources sharing in order to make best use of available resources. Next, Wendy Hong.
Encouraging to know that there are 15 laboratories in Hong Kong that are recognized by the Ministry of Science and Technology as state key laboratories. Congratulations. I have a question for the Bureau. 我想問下局方咧，呢一次全國重點實驗室嘅重組咧，如果一啲舊有嘅國家重點實驗室
My question is, now what about laboratories that have put in applications but have not been approved, and how these laboratories will be handled? Will they be asked to go out of business and close down, or will they be helped to reinvent themselves? And also, if they fail to enter the list of key SKL, then will they continue to benefit from university funding? I asked the Deputy Secretary to answer this question. Actually, the laboratories can still operate under the university, but without the identity as SKLs, they will not be eligible for government subsidy, but they can continue to operate under the universities. So with university resources, right? Not government resources, yes. Madam Priscilla Lam. First of all, I would like to thank the university professors for coming before us to let us know their latest research findings and results. Right now, Hong Kong is trying to play catch-up in terms of research and development in scientific research. And also we want to converge with the world and converge with the rest of the country. I've just come back from the 2 sessions of National People's Congress, and we want to really lift as many restrictions as possible. Now, my question for you is, in terms of intellectual property circulation and biotechnology research, what regulations and legislation you believe should be relaxed so that Hong Kong can do a better job with research and development of science?
其實國家對於
The reason why I ask you is because you are experts in this regard. And also Hong Kong has a lot of room for improvement with regard to converging with the regulatory framework of the rest of the country. And it's been said that we are not proactive enough in relaxing our regulation, and that's why we are said to be not moving faster in scientific research and development. And so what do you think are the regulations and legislation that should be relaxed? Professor Zhang, you go first. Thank you. Hong Kong has got a very good foundation, and our tax rate is very low. So it's really good for startup and also for innovation. But housing is a big problem. If government can build certain housing, especially for high-value talents and high-tech talents, then it is going to be a big help. But our tax rate is much lower than Shenzhen and other places, and so that's a big edge. And also in terms of innovation, our level is still quite a lot behind the rest of the country. And it is much better for us to build a bigger platform so that all high-tech innovators all over the world, including mainland, including international community, come to Hong Kong and benefit from reasonably priced housing. And that would be best. Apart from nurturing talents, we also have special contribution to our country. At present, young scientific researchers are finding it difficult to get overseas visas, but they can always come to Hong Kong. And then from Hong Kong, they can go to the rest of the world. And so Hong Kong can also play a role here. Professor Yu. Indeed, we are a good example. We have been operating for 13 years, and the Innovation and Technology Department, as well as support from the State Department, are very, very important. We are able to attract a lot of mainland talents to come to Hong Kong. And we've got many, many talents already being achieved. And our prognostic patent is now under application. And your question is a very pertinent one.
那就很多公司
And in international exchange meetings, we can really expose ourselves to the international community, and they might be interested in coming to Hong Kong and get in touch with us. And we will select certain members among these companies to come to Hong Kong to work with us, so that we can get clinical results as soon as possible. Because we get subsidy as SKL, we can develop very, very fast. Our ranking has improved a lot. During the past 4 years, we've been ranked #1, and we thank the Innovation and Technology Department for the support. And we're able to get a lot of funding for hiring people. So it really gives confidence to overseas talents and mainland talents to come to Hong Kong. And I believe that the support from the State Department and the Innovation and Technology Department support. And of course, funding from the Innovation and Technology Department is very important. Our own individual team members might not be interested in opening companies, but our students are very interested in opening up companies because we've got students that have opened up a company for a car use radar. And they already have a team of 100 people, and they want to come to Hong Kong to get listed. And also we have another student that is opening up a company for doing base stations for telecommunication. And they have also been very, very successful. And this is, of course, relevant to how much money Hong Kong investors are preparing to put into the projects. But we are very happy to see that our students are really successful in making contribution to upping industrial productivity of Hong Kong. Finally, Mr. Lo Wai Kwong. I'm not a regular member of this panel, but I can see that several major professors have come to Hong Kong and have come before us. And so I made it a point to come to this meeting to, first of all, extend my welcome to them and also to thank them for leading SKLs operating in Hong Kong. I'm also trying to make use of AI to do analysis. I've asked DeepSeek a question. In promoting industries, Hong Kong government has put in a plethora of policies and initiatives. Why is it that nothing like DeepSeek has been produced by Hong Kong's industries? Dajang and unmanned marine vessels have passed us by. Why is it that Hong Kong government has put in so much money in industrial and scientific research and development, but still we have not seen any revolutionary products of research? I'm going to extend today's meeting for 10 minutes before our professors answer the questions. Actually, this is a good question. I think you don't have to be impatient. I think Shenzhen and Nanjing mayors have become very, very impatient. Actually, I've been telling them that they don't have to be impatient. Many of our technological and scientific research actually have been put to very, very good use elsewhere in China, for instance, Dajang in Shenzhen. But we have to give it some time. And your question is a very good one. Now, for laboratories that fail to make the list, we've got 15 candidates and 3 have been selected. The Innovation and Technology Department has done a very, very good job. However, their threshold has been set very, very high. For instance, Tsinghua University has gotten 15 such laboratories, and Zhejiang University has also got a large number of laboratories. But in Hong Kong, Hong Kong's universities have won 14 number 1 out of 26 subjects from universities in China. And in all of China, except Hong Kong, there are already 200 to 300 SKLs. In Hong Kong, we only have 15. So I just want to speak on behalf of the laboratories that failed to make the cut. I just want to say that Hong Kong has put in indeed a lot of resources to produce a very good performance among universities. However, the number of laboratories is too small. Professor Yu, maybe some of the research areas have not been fully publicized. For instance, auto-occurring hepatitis. This has been a good research subject, but it has not been very widely publicized. And this is an original subject, and we have won a patent And fat-related liver disease is also a term that is invented by us. And in order to detect whether there is any inflammation of the liver from this source, there must be a dedicated marker. And we're now really the owner of this particular patent. And for 2 years in a row, we have been able to be ranked #1. And so this is a groundbreaking ranking performance. And so I think we need to be more high profile. We shouldn't be humble.
So our antenna team, our researchers are the most prestigious in the country. So I mentioned the establishment of our faculty in 1984. This is to show you that it takes a long time to nurture the soil favorable for technological development. We need resources and we need to enrich the soil in the ecosystem, and then maybe one day technology will bloom from our soil. So I thank the Hong Kong government and the ITC for nurturing this ecosystem in Hong Kong. Well, actually, before DeepSeek, we were also able to find an answer to questions through the WeG. Now, the 15 state key laboratories will start running on the 1st of July this year. I believe that the existing 12 SKLs and the 3 new SKLs will bring together the scientific talents in the universities and the country to bring Hong Kong to higher heights. Now, we always say that technological advancement is so quick that no one can catch up. A few years ago, or even just 1 year ago, no one would have anticipated the DeepSeek bursting into the scene. So I thank the 3 professors and the universities for their contribution. Actually, researchers in relation to medical science are also very important. In the next 5 years, or maybe even sooner, can we have an update from the teams concerning the breakthroughs and outcomes achieved? We need to let the public know the scientific achievements we have made in Hong Kong. Will the Hong Kong SAR government accept new application for the status of SKLs? Can we have more than 15 SKLs in the future? Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I also thank members for all your recognition on our work, especially for the work of the SKLs. Like the Chairman said, we need to do better in terms of publicity. We need to update the society on the achievements and progress of the scientific researchers. Now, like the professor said, the terahertz research team in his university is the most prominent one in the country. Now, the MOST would consider the designation of SKL from a national perspective. But from our perspective, surely we want to host more state-level scientific projects in Hong Kong. We will continue to work towards that goal. Thank you. That concludes the item. Thank you, Under Secretary and the 3 professors for attending the item. We hope that your research outcomes would continue to gain global recognition. Congratulations, and once again, thank you for coming today. That concludes the item. The last item is Any other business? Any AOB? If not, I announce the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.